Hi everyone, and welcome back to Dan Wells Reader Mail. This is our second week. Last week we talked about what happens after the Partials trilogy is over, and I'm ashamed to say that not everything I said in that post was entirely truthful. The big lie that I perpetrated on you guys was that question was really not the most common question that I get. What happens after the end of the Partials series? Certainly a big one, but it pales in comparison to the big Partials question, which is, what is the deal with Isolde's baby? Let me read a question from Chelsea, who is a great representative question for this topic. She says, I'm reading the Partials series again, and I noticed something that I can't figure out. At the end of Fragments, when Isolde has her baby, Nandita calls it the first human partial hybrid, which is why it suffers from RM. But in the very first chapter of Partials, Ariel's baby is dying. If Ariel is a partial, and her baby was also a partial human hybrid, why didn't Ariel's baby survive like Isolde's? This is maybe a little late, but let's say, big spoiler warning for this week's Reader Mail. Okay? So, there's two things that you need to understand for this question, okay, in order to understand what the answer. Number one is what we call the concept of an unreliable narrator. First of all, let me read to you guys, here's my little copy of Fragments. Let me read the offending passage. This is chapter 50. It is the very last, thing in the entire book before the acknowledgments. Isolde's baby is just born. Senator Kessler and Nandita are looking at it. Senator Kessler studied the blisters from behind a paper breath mask. This has never happened before. She shook her head, trying to force away the fear. Tens of thousands of RM cases, and nothing ever like this. The first human partial hybrid, said Nandita. This is the first partial to ever contract RM. We don't know how it will affect him or how he will affect it. Nandita stared at the squalling child, lost in thought. So, okay, as I said, two things. The first one, unreliable narrator. What that is it is a literary term that means that the character who is speaking to you, or the narrator who is telling you the story, doesn't always tell you the truth, or doesn't always know the truth, or just sometimes flat out makes mistakes. And really that's what's going on here with Nandita. Nandita, as we know, she's a member of the Trust. She helped design the Partials. She knew a lot about them. And so, she's fully aware that Ariel's baby would have also been a hybrid. The thing is, Ariel's baby did not get sick. Ariel's baby reacted to RM exactly like a normal human baby. And so in this instance, in this moment, when Nandita is confronted with this terrifying new plague, she's not thinking about Ariel's baby. Maybe that's a cop-out, but sorry. That's how people react to trauma in many cases, is they forget. So answer number one, Nandita just forgot in that moment about Ariel's baby. Number two, and perhaps bigger and certainly more important, is that Isolde's baby was functionally very different. And this goes back to the concept of the partial failsafe, which was the second disease that Nandita had spent the whole girl's childhood searching for. That's why she gathered up Isolde and Ariel and Kira all in one place to try to figure out what this disease was and how it worked. It was a second disease that had been built into one of the new partials as a way of controlling the population, so they could trigger it and wipe them all out if they needed to. And Ariel did not have that second disease, that failsafe disease, in her DNA. So when her child was conceived, when her child grew up and was born, that baby did not react to RM in any special way. However, Isolde did have that second disease in her DNA, and it was a part of that baby boy's makeup. It was a part of his body, a part of his everything. And so he interacted with RM in a very different way. And so when he was born, he freaked out. He got this new symptoms that no one had ever seen, scaly patches of skin and blisters and all these things that RM never did. And so that is why the baby was so different. And so really, when Nandita says this is the first partial human hybrid, what she means is this is the first time that this new creature has been born. Not that it was the only child that had both human and partial DNA, but that it was the only one functionally different from a normal human, because Ariel's baby was basically human. So if you understand those two things, first of all, how the disease affected Isolde's baby, and second of all, that Nandita in that instance was just too freaked out to remember the full truth, then that explains what's going on. So I guess the short version of this answer is sometimes characters are wrong. And this is a case where Nandita was. I suppose in hindsight, it's my fault as an author that I allowed her to be wrong in this instance. But I wanted her to be wrong because, like I said, that's how we react to trauma in a lot of cases. That's how we react to fear. We don't always remember things exactly the way they happened. And we don't always respond to scary situations in a rational way. And so even though Nandita knew objectively that there had been a previous partial human hybrid, she did not in that moment think about it or say it out loud. So that is the answer to your question. Ariel's baby was, exactly like you say, a previous partial human hybrid, and Nandita just got that wrong. So there you go. That is the second answer in our reader mail series. Please keep sending me your questions. I've got a bunch, but if you have more that you want answered, let me know, and I will quite possibly answer it here in a video in an upcoming week. So thank you very much, and I will see you later.